Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. Today's guest is Whitney Henneman. She is a wife, mom, and infertility survivor living in Orlando, Florida. After struggling with unexplained infertility and endometriosis for 4 years, she conceived and gave birth to her miracle baby, Selah, through IVF. The founder of Hope Infertility Support Group, she is a passionate leader following God's call on her life to encourage women in the throes of infertility, miscarriage, and child loss. Let's welcome Whitney to the show. Hey, Whitney, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
For sure. So tell me a little bit more about your story, kind of how you got here and what made you want to work in women's health.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am 35. It's so funny as you get older, you're like, oh, how old am I? So yes, it's 35 and,
Right.
I'm out of Orlando, Florida. And, I struggled with, unexplained infertility and endometriosis for 4 years before having my miracle daughter, Selah. And we had her through our first round of IVF. And then I have 2 more babies, one who's 2 now, which I can't believe it. And we have 1 more on the way, which is so exciting. He is due in August. So my first was IVF. The second 2 were supposed to be frozen embryo transfer babies, but inadvertently they were just as miraculous as my first. And we kind of got pregnant with them in the midst of going to see our infertility doctor.
Wow.
My first one was 2 days before our pre-op appointment for my frozen embryo transfer. And then this third one, we were like, let's just give it a few months. Let's give it 6 months. Let's see what happens. And then if nothing happens, we'll go back for an embryo because we still have some from our first round that we did with my daughter. And wouldn't you know it, the morning of my appointment with my reproductive endocrinologist was the morning we found out we were pregnant. So we were super excited.
Yeah, I bet. You're like, yes.
I know. It's so funny too, because like on the flip side of infertility, it's almost like having that control of IVF and doing the embryo. And I'm a type A personality, so it's almost like it feels like you're more in control.
Yes.
So I remember when I got pregnant with Stone, you're like, oh gosh, I mean, like, do we make healthy kids? Like, I don't know. Like, is this going to work? So obviously we feel so blessed to have these, babies, but it's funny how my infertility journey, has taken twists and turns along the way.
Yes, I think all of us have. So it's crazy how it all works out. And so what would you contribute to being able to get pregnant naturally after the struggle with endometriosis and infertility?
Truly, I believe that it is and my endometriosis was a big contributing factor.
Mm-hmm.
So, I struggled with endometriosis for years and was never able to really get a diagnosis, and not knowing that it was endometriosis. So when I went and saw the reproductive endocrinologist that helped me get pregnant with my daughter through IVF, the first kind of line of treatment that he did was a laparoscopy, hysteroscopy, and D&C, just to clear everything out. And he was like, because of your unexplained infertility and being younger, I was 30 at the time, he was like, you should probably get pregnant based off of, clearing everything out, which I didn't. We kind of went through a whole journey and ended up at IVF. But I think now I can kind of contribute me getting pregnant. I got pregnant with my son Stone 9 months after I had my daughter, but while you're pregnant and not having a period, your endometriosis is kind of at bay. Mm-hmm. So I think getting it fixed and then getting pregnant, I think I got pregnant from IVF about a year later. And then, just having it kept at bay, I think is probably what helped me. And I think initially just getting your body kick-started just with the hormones and everything. My hormones were very off before I got pregnant with my daughter through IVF. So I think it was just a bunch of contributing factors.
What a blessing. I mean,
yes,
goodness,
I know.
it's amazing.
Yes.
And
I know,
go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I know that's not how it happens for everyone, right? And, I know a lot of people say like, oh, just, you'll get pregnant naturally and stuff. And some people aren't unexplained infertility. Some people have, hormone issues or low AMH or, pre-onset, just different things that are going to be determining factors that you can't get pregnant, naturally. So I know that's not the case for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. But I definitely think it's a story of hope, because I talk to women all day that tell me that, endometriosis diagnosis is almost like the end of natural fertility. Like,
right.
It's a lot harder and they just are so down and out. And I love to hear a story of hope where you do have endometriosis. You were able to overcome that. You got pregnant naturally. So thank you for sharing that. I love that.
Absolutely.
Story. Yeah. So let's talk about hormones. How do you think the hormones played a role in all of this? You said they were unbalanced. So
yeah. So I've kind of had an interesting hormone journey along the way. So like I said, I had pretty bad endometriosis all through college. I was kind of in and out of the ER several times, just with passing out due to just a high pain. I feel like I have a high pain tolerance, but I mean, endometriosis can kick your butt. So it's just funny that no one really ever figured it out along the way. And then, when I met with my doctor after kind of explaining my story, he diagnosed me within the first few minutes and was like, I guarantee you this is what you have. But kind of back up a little bit, right after college, my husband and I got married, and I had never been on birth control. I don't know why, but, so I got on it, a little bit before we got married, and was on it for about 6 months. I was on low estrogen 24, which is, not a high powered, birth control, but I ended up having, a TIA, which is a trans ischemic attack, which basically translates to a mini stroke, while on birth control. And it was terrifying. I mean, I had true stroke-like symptoms. I was actually in medical sales at the time. So I was in the hospital and I was talking with the doctor, and I just started feeling funny. I just couldn't come up with my words. So I went to the car and I called my dad. I was like, Dad, I just feel weird. And he's like, well, have you eaten? I was like, no. He's like, well, just kind of stay in the car and kind of see how it goes. And so then all of a sudden my peripheral vision went out in my one eye. It just went all blurry.
Oh gosh.
And then, my left arm started going tingly, and it was working its way up. And I was like,
oh my God.
Oh my gosh, I am having a stroke right now. And so I started running towards the ER. And by the time I got there, I was nonverbal. I couldn't communicate. I was hyperventilating. Yeah. So, thankfully I came through that, and there was no long-term or even short-term residual effects. But when I was in the ICU in the ER, the nurse was like, "Oh, honey, we see this all the time." She was like,
Wow.
"We see patients, she's like, if a young woman with stroke-like symptoms comes in, she's like, it's birth control 100% of the
Oh
time."
my gosh.
You're like,
They
and
don't
nobody,
talk about this.
I know. You're like, yeah, I mean, that wasn't told to me before I got on, birth control. And so sometimes I feel like birth control is just kind of like a coverall for like the OBGYN. You walk in, you're like, "Hey, I'm not feeling great today." They're like, let's prescribe some birth control, or, like whatever your ailment is, like birth control.
Yep.
So, I mean, I realized very quickly that my body did not respond well to the birth control. So I got off that. And then it was several years after that we started trying to have kids. But and then our journey kind of infertility started. I tried for a couple of years, and then we met with a doctor, and I just didn't get a good feeling about him. He was like, we'll just throw you on some drugs and you'll get pregnant. And just, didn't hear me.
Right.
So I had my hormones tested. I'm like, maybe I could try this like the natural way first, and got some of my levels kind of figured out, but it just did not help me as far as conceiving goes. But and then kind of journey from there through, I meet with my reproductive endocrinologist that ended up doing IVF on me. And so he, did the surgery. We did 3 rounds of letrozole, just medicated cycle. And then we did 3 rounds of IUI. We actually did 2. My third, I talk about, I end up in this like nuclear emotional meltdown. That's kind of another story for another day. But so after that kind of nuclear meltdown, I was like, I cannot, like I'm done, like emotionally, I can't take it anymore. I need a break. So that was about 6 months on all the fertility drugs. And I feel great when my hormones are high. Like on the drugs, I did not even skip a beat. But then once I stopped taking all the medications, my hormones plummeted, and they plummeted so low that I started having massive panic attacks. And I mean, by that, I mean like days long, like feeling like I'm going to die. Ended up in the ER several times. I mean, truly some of the lowest times I've ever experienced, because I had night terrors at night, just all these things. You're like, I don't know what's happening to me, but I feel like I'm dying.
I think a lot will do that to you.
So I called my reproductive endocrinologist, or at least the office, and was like, I got off all the drugs. This is what's happening. I think my hormones are affected. And the nurse was very just like passive and flippant, and just kind of like, no, we've never heard of that before. Sorry. If you're struggling, you need to go to the ER. And you're like, I've been to the ER. Like, check that off the list. Like, you're the next one down the list. You got to help me. And so, truly you have to be your own patient advocate. So I scheduled a meeting with my RE and kind of marched in there. And I was like, if you won't help me, like, I'm going to go see like a hormone specialist. And he was like, all right. So he got me on progesterone and estrogen. And it was slow, but I felt like night and day different, just with being able to cope with life and everything starting to like even out again. So, and then kind of got evened out and leveled out before we moved into our IVF round. And then that ultimately resulted in me getting pregnant. So, that was a little bit of the backstory of kind of all of the hormone issues that I had.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that you say being your own advocate. Like we talk about that on this show so often. Like if your doctor tells you like, I've never heard of that before, or that's crazy. Like, you know your body. So don't listen to that. Tell them, speak up, march in there and be like, nope, something's wrong and you need to help me.
Absolutely.
So I love that you said that.
Well, and truly, I mean, like looking back even on my own endometriosis journey, and it's kind of a genetic thing. Both my sisters have it. And so, my sister post 3 kids is kind of struggling a little bit just with super heavy periods. I'm like, girl, it's our endometriosis. Like, you got to go get it figured out. And my other sister, who's kind of like hasn't started trying for kids yet, she also has pretty bad endometriosis. And so, I mean, I know how life-changing the surgery is. Truly life-changing. And, you know, looking back, you're like, oh man, I wish I had done that years before.
Yeah.
Not even as a contributing factor towards trying to get pregnant, but just for my own, like living life and being able to feel like I can function, you know, with periods.
Yeah. And so talk to us a little bit about that. I know that wasn't really the topic of the show, but I do have a lot of people ask me about, should I get that surgery? Should I not? Like, how is it? How bad is it? So just talk to us about that, how your experience was.
Yeah. So like I had said before, I was in medical sales for years and years. And so I see what happens in the OR. And so, before my endometriosis surgery, I'd never really had surgery before. I was so nervous. I passed out like the morning of in the shower. My husband heard me moaning. I'm like, babe, I can't do it. I was so nervous.
Oh my gosh.
But in hindsight, I'm so glad I did it. So I know one of the things that doctors can say is that it will come back. Potentially, right?
Right.
So if you have the surgery, it's not like hey, we're going to fix it now and you'll be good for forever. It potentially could do that. And for me, you know, with having the surgery and then now having, you know, 3 kids in 4 years, it's helped keep my endometriosis at bay. And so when I'm, you know, not pregnant, my periods are a dream. But so with the laparoscopic surgery, it's basically just a few cuts, like a cut in your belly button. I think they go vaginally, and then I think there's one other cut or actually I think I just had the 2, just the belly button cut. But I've seen women who have the 3 before. It's an outpatient surgery, so not longer than, you know, an hour or so. I was home that day. You have severe bloating. I think some of the residual, you know, after effects would be kind of more due to the anesthesia, just making sure, you know, they give you nausea medication and that sort of thing so you can recover well. But I would say it's about, you know, a 2 to 3 kind of day. You just kind of want to lay around and not do much recovery. But I'm telling you, when I had my first period after that surgery, I went to my doctor and I was like, you didn't tell me, like, what is this life? I mean, I was like, you know, before in my endometriosis, just normally when I would get my period, I would have to get somewhere safe. I'd have to get to the car. I'd have to get home because my pain was so bad. I would start to like feel like I was going to pass out and I would just and I'd be sweating, you know, you just have to get somewhere safe. And just for a couple hours, it was just brutal. And that first day was brutal. You just have to get through it. Right. And so to go from that to, you know, post surgery, you're like, I'm bleeding. Wait, I'm bleeding. Wait, my period is here. I don't feel anything. You're like, this is glorious. Oh my God. Yeah. So, I would say, you know, with realistic expectations of knowing that you might have to have repeat surgeries, I would say if you're struggling with endometriosis and, you know, I know there's a lot of things to cover it up, right? Like you've got birth control or other things to kind of keep it at bay. But I mean, I would say, I mean, not for everyone, but ditch the birth control and get the surgery.
Right. For sure. And it's only about 30% of people who it does come back. So I mean, those are really high odds, I feel like.
Yes.
And of course, surgery's not for everyone, but I love that you had a positive experience with it. And it's so much better than birth control for sure, because it actually fixes the issue, you know, if it doesn't come back, obviously, but birth control is just band-aiding it. It's just putting a mask over
covering up a symptom.
Exactly.
Right. Totally.
Yep.
I know.
I love it. So talk to me. I know you recently had a wonderful post on Instagram. You were coming out of surgery. You were like giving us a thumbs up. So kind of talk to me a little bit about that. What was the inspiration around that? And what was that post about?
Yeah. So, well, this month, as you know, is Endometriosis Awareness Month. And so, you know, I think endometriosis is something that's a little bit taboo. Like no one really talks about painful periods, you know? And so I have had friends reach out, one of my friends who's a doctor was like, I went through med school and like, I have endometriosis and didn't realize that like painful periods, like that wasn't normal.
Right.
So, I just really want to create awareness around this disease that's just so often misdiagnosed or minimized. I mean, I was in the ER in college, just in excruciating pain and like sent home with an Advil. Like, who knows?
My God.
Well, so go to your OB and get some birth control, like just kind of like, well, let's figure this out. So, I wish in hindsight, I mean, obviously you don't know what you don't know, right? And you just kind of like put your head down and you muscle through. But just creating awareness for women that like, hey, if you do have painful periods, like if you struggle with heavy bleeding or like different things that just don't seem normal, girl, you walk into your doctor's office and you tell them that you need to like get this figured out. And the hard part is endometriosis is hard to diagnose. So when I went into the doctor, my RE, who eventually or ultimately diagnosed me, he listened to me for the first time, like a doctor listened to me. And he did a sonogram and he found that I had fluid around my ovaries. And he was like, based off of those two things, like, I know you have endometriosis. Well, why hasn't anyone told me this? And so, I just think it's important to spread awareness and just to create this, world where we can talk about things like periods and painful things and, stuff that, normally it's not like you're going to like throw that out in normal conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. I always say I wish I could go back to like 7th grade, like, sex ed class and teach a class on periods. Like this is what the normal period is. This is what you need to do. Like talk about birth control, all of this.
Yes.
Instead of taking algebra classes, we need to take like life classes like that.
I know. So funny. I always talk about that like with like high school or college. Like I think in high school, you need like a college class, and then like in college, you need like a life class, like insurance. Like I want to know about like, how do I pay for my house and what's a good loan look like?
How do I balance my checkbook? How do I apply for a job? All of it.
Right? Yeah.
I love it. And a lot of people too, I'm glad you mentioned that. A lot of people think that the only way to diagnose endometriosis is to have the surgery.
Right.
When you can actually get a sonogram, and obviously it's not like,
definitive.
Exactly. But they can say, I see signs that might lead to endometriosis. Let's do, further testing, maybe even the surgery.
Right.
So I'm glad you bring that up because a lot of people ask me that. They're like so scared that there's no way to diagnose it.
Yeah. And it is genetic. I mean, my mom had a DNC a couple times because she had very heavy bleeding for periods. It's funny because I did my post on endometriosis and a cousin of mine reached out and was like, no way. She was like, I have that same thing and my OBGYN just put me on birth control. So it's just, I mean, I really do think that, if your sister has it, you probably have it, or if your mom struggled. So it's something to kind of have an awareness about as a family as well.
For sure. Oh, I love it. I love this topic. So let's take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to talk more about your book, The Barren Cry, and about your support groups.
Sounds good.
We will be right back. Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. Today's sponsor of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast is Keep Me Safe Organics, an all-natural beauty and skincare company. At Keep Me Safe, they combine personal development with an amazing product line that gives you confidence that you are reducing the toxins found in your homes. Today, we invite you to join us in part to help them do what they are doing, and that is reducing the toxins that are going into your body's largest organ, which is your skin. Indulge your senses, fall in love with our brand new shampoo and conditioner, and while you're there, check out their extensive array of safe for you and baby products. You can visit my.keepmesafeworldwide.com/Coach Kayla and since you're a VIP, enter code Coach Kayla at checkout for 10% off your entire purchase. You will find everything from shower essentials to makeup to skincare, and you can be sure that it's safe for you before, during, and after your pregnancy, and safe for your baby as well as the whole family. Welcome back, Whitney. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk about your book, The Barren Cry. So tell us about that and the inspiration for writing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So The Barren Cry is a 21-day infertility and miscarriage devotional. It also kind of chronicles my story of infertility and my journey of faith. And so back in 2015 was really the height of my infertility and the struggle that I went through. And so I started a support group just because there was no support groups in the area. And I mean, I needed someone to talk to that like understood what I was going through. I think infertility can be a very misunderstood journey. So anyways, so started this support group and it kind of took off. I have it through our church, Mosaic Church in Winter Garden, Florida, here in Orlando. And so, it's just kind of a small thing where women reach out to me one-on-one and we go grab coffee or we'll sit down. It kind of started out as like a group thing and that's just kind of what it's morphed into. Yeah. So I was realizing that as I was sitting down and kind of having coffee with these women that, I mean, there is so much to unpack on the infertility journey.
Yes.
I mean, you've got spirituality or your religion, and then you've got your finances and you've got your marriage and you've got, anxiety and hormones and just all these things that like, I just was not able to pack it all into a 30-minute coffee date. And so I really felt just compelled that there was so many things that I learned along the way that I just really wanted to kind of get out and get it all on paper. And it was very therapeutic for me as well to write it. Yeah. And kind of to understand and work through things in hindsight. And so I love that now I have kind of this, survival guide, as I call it,
right,
that I can then offer to women that are going through this, like, hey, I know I've been there. It's tough. And so here's this that you can read kind of at your convenience and kind of work through. It operates kind of on a 21-day kind of Devo. And so, there's things that we walk through on a very practical basis, like how do you have hope, right, in this season?
Right.
What are some practical steps you can do when you're in the midst of a panic attack and like you feel like you're dying and you don't know what to do other than go to the ER, right? So, just some practical things, and then talking through my, faith journey. Infertility absolutely wrecked my faith. I mean, I thought I had a good thing going with God.
Right.
I kind of had this like prosperity gospel kind of in my head is what I kind of allude to is, where I do good things and God blesses me. And so that, well, was kind of how the deal worked up until 2015. And I kind of talk about it in my book, but, my husband had heart surgery and he did not do very well after the heart surgery. And then I had my endometriosis surgery and I was going through that. And, I lost my job. He almost lost a job. I mean, just like all of these things that were kind of compiled on top of each other. And I really struggled with like, oh, is God good? Like, do I believe in God? And so just my journey of like how I got through all of that and kind of worked through it and kind of packaged it up into a book that I'm now able to share with others.
I love that. And I love that you said that about, because I feel like that's pretty common, especially for Christian women. We kind of think like, why me? Why are you doing this to me, God? Like, I don't understand. And I heard this amazing quote recently that said, what was this lady that had struggled with loss and infertility and all this stuff? And she said, I asked the same question about God, why? But then I realized I hadn't seen the whole picture yet.
Right.
And so that made me think like, oh, okay, he's got a plan. I don't know what it is and it sucks, but there is a plan. So I love that you talk about that. Sounds like an amazing resource for everybody going through infertility.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. I think one of like the clarifying moments for me, or kind of what I write about kind of in the beginning of the book, is that the line that our circumstances are not the lens through which we should view God. And that's how I was looking at God, right? Things were great. So God's good.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like things are terrible and I feel abandoned. And it says in the Bible, you know, that children are a reward and a blessing. And you're like, well, what does that say about me? Like, is God not like blessing me, or, you know, does he not care about me? And so kind of when I came to the realization that God is the same, like God is always good. He does care about me, and like my circumstances will fluctuate, you know, with the seasons of life and suffering and death. And so, you know, he was ultimately, you know, that I found the hope, the one thing that I could cling to solidly when I was really struggling.
I love that. Sounds like an amazing book. I can't wait to read it.
Oh
my goodness. I got to get a copy.
Yes, I'll send you one.
Yes. Oh, thanks. Awesome. So talk to us. You said you lay out some practical tips in there on, you know, talk to us about a couple of those. You know, I think you said one was if you're having a panic attack, like what are some practical things that you can do?
Yeah. So, with the panic attacks, let me just kind of pull it up here. So a couple things that, I did practically, I kind of, wrote out an acronym, pressure. And so we don't have to go through each and every one, but, the first one is POP, and really to pop your thoughts. And so I found that, you know, when you're in true flight or flight, this like isn't a thing, but just in kind of like normal everyday life, you know, especially with infertility, you start down like the rabbit trail of like, oh my gosh, this is happening, which means like this might happen and that might happen. And so I found, you know, one way that I could really kind of take control of my thoughts was just to pop my thought and to kind of have something that you go to in your mind when you try to transition your thoughts from negative to positive. So have something that you kind of like can think about or go to when you're starting down that trail of negative thinking. And so after a while, you'll kind of find yourself that it becomes a habit where you start to kind of stop that negative thinking and focus on positive. Another one was rest. And it's don't stress about your stress. You know, if everyone wants to say like, oh, you're so stressed, it's going to impact, you know, your ability to have a child. No, it's not. Right. There's studies that show that your stress is not impacting your ability to have a child. So just you relax, you're fine. Like, you know, another one was exercise. And so this was a big one for my husband and I. But just, we would get home from work and we would get on our bikes and I would have my glass of wine and we would just like ride bikes, like in the dark. Sometimes I would go by myself and I would just bawl and just cry. But it's just like finding a way that you can kind of like release things, was just so helpful to me. So
that is very talented to ride a bike and hold a glass of wine.
Oh girl, I have got that mastered. Oh yes. It's a beach cruiser. So I mean, I'm not on like a trail bike or anything, but
I'm like,
yeah, got that one down. So kind of go through several more things. And then finally, the last one in the pressure acronym is equalize. And so I think a very important thing is if you need help medically, go get help medically. Like whether it be you need some Xanax to help you calm down. For me, you know, it was Xanax knocked me out. So it was finding some alternative things that would kind of help lessen the severity of my anxiety. But I mean, ultimately it was, I needed to get my hormones leveled out to really be able to kind of see the light of day.
Right.
As far as having hope in this season of life, some of the practical tips that I have was, number one was gratitude. And I know Brene Brown, I love her. She talks a lot. Yes, I know. She talks a lot about this, but just in the hard parts of life, finding small things that you can be thankful for really can produce joy, you know, in your life, and not happiness, right? But just contentment, like joy. And so, thinking of things that you can write down, every day. So it could be as small as, you know, I'm so thankful for my husband and I'm so grateful that he understands me. My husband is so amazing. And he's very much perceptive of me and understanding of my feelings. And so I just really appreciate that about him. Like he's my teammate. We call each other our ride or die. So just little things like that you can be appreciative for when it gets really tough. Another one would be memorizing scripture or kind of like focusing on positive words. For me, it was, memorizing certain scripture that included things that talk about hope.
Mm-hmm.
So another one was, finding new hobbies. And so, I think I really struggled with my identity in the midst of infertility.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding something that you can feel good about, in the midst of infertility, like, I love riding horses. That was a big one for me. So I loved like getting out there, getting dirty, getting sweaty, rubbing my horse down, brushing them, going for rides. Like that was very fulfilling for me. But just something that you can find an identity in outside of just kind of like the insane world that is infertility.
For
Um,
sure. I
maybe,
love riding horses.
oh,
Oh
good.
my God.
Yeah.
So much fun. I love it. I
Yes,
don't do it enough though. I need
I know.
to.
Me neither. I know.
Yeah.
Another big one as far as having hope in the season of infertility is getting a puppy or a kitten. I mean, as women, like we feel that need to nurture. And I had or have still King Charles Cavalier, a little dog, and his name is Louie, and I love him.
Oh.
And he was like my emotional support animal like throughout infertility. But truly, he provided just this sense of like calm and reassurance that I needed, like going through that. And then,
I love that.
thank you. And then finally, the last one, as far as having hope in this season, would be setting positive incentives. So for and then this kind of like, once we got to like our infertility treatments, for every round that we did, I had something fun said at the end of it in case it didn't work out. So if there was like a new pair of shoes that I was kind of eyeing, or my husband and I would kind of plan a little like, 3-day getaway, a little trip. Like if it didn't work out, at least that was something I could look forward to. And I mean, it doesn't like, replace the sting or, that, but at least it's something fun that you can focus on while you're grieving.
I love that. And I always say it's, let's find joy in this journey. And so it's kind of everything you touched on, making this, it's so easy to get consumed and like infertility can just swallow you up.
Yeah.
But let's try to find joy when we're walking through this and things that will kind of take us away from this hard journey. So I love that you say that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know I felt like in the midst of infertility and definitely through the hardest part, I felt a lot of bitterness. And I think that's a very normal feeling to have. But I think I got to the point where my bitterness started turning into anger. And interestingly enough, I think that was a positive thing. That was a healthy thing because I started channeling my anger into, infertility isn't going to beat me. It might own my life, but it's not going to own me. And so, even if it means that I'm not going to get a child at the end of this journey, like I'm still going to live my best life, and it's not going to take from me the joy that I have to offer others and even just myself in this really, really hard season.
I love that. And I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yes. YOLO.
YOLO.
I love it. So tell us where you're at now. Where's your journey at now? I could think you kind of alluded in the beginning, but let's touch on that again.
Yes. So I am pregnant right now with number 3, and it's a little boy. He is due in August. And this will be our last child. It's funny because I think my husband and I were kind of both hoping it was a girl. Obviously, we're so excited. It's a boy. But my husband was like, okay, so maybe, if you want a girl, we can go back for a girl embryo after this. I was like, babe, the shop is closed.
Right.
Yeah, so I think this will complete this third baby will complete our family. It's funny though, like, when we started like quote unquote trying for baby number 3, it just like brings back such trauma and anxiety and just like, I almost like didn't even want to try. It's like, let's just go back and get an embryo because that like, oh, I'm fertile, let's do this. And like, oh, like you just remember, it brings back all these like terrible memories, And so we like loosely tried, but I think I had so much more hope this time around because I knew we had our embryos. And so we had that fail safe. It's not like the first time around when you're like, I might never be a mother if this doesn't work out, So truly, I'm so glad that I've kind of put a bow like on the childbearing infertility chapter. But now I just am so grateful that I'm able to love on other women who are kind of walking this hard journey. I have the support group that I do through church that I meet with women one-on-one, and hear just incredibly strong women of all walks of life, just going through some horrific things. So it's just such an honor that I get to walk with women through that. And I have my Instagram account, which is Hope Infertility, which I'm able to reach a lot of people through that and just share stories. And I know one thing for me when I was walking through infertility was I loved hearing stories of hope. Like, I loved hearing stories of women who tried for years and years and years and got pregnant, because it's like, okay, like, that's me. I identify with that. If she can do it, like, it gives me hope that I can do it. I remember when I was in 2015, Sarah's Laughter is a support group nationally for women struggling with infertility and miscarriage. And their podcast was just coming out, and it was a podcast of women sharing their stories of how they, the first couple were how they got pregnant. I know some of them were, stories of all sorts of types, but it was so powerful for me because it made me feel like A, I wasn't alone, like B, it gave me hope. And so I hope that my, on a small scale infertility account, gives other women a voice and allows them to be heard. And, I've had a lot of women reach out, say like, I created like a dummy account because I don't want to be open with my infertility journey, but at least this gives me an outlet that I can like see these stories and like interact and talk to women. And then also just being able to then have my book to offer women as just a resource and just something of, I hope, a blessing in their journey.
For sure. I love that. And that's the whole reason I started this show, my Instagram account, all of it, just to share stories of hope and inspiration and education, all of it. So I love that you're doing that. And I love your account. You have some great stuff on there. So definitely everybody listening, please go check out Whitney's account. Tell us again the name of that account, and then where else can we find you online?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Instagram account is at hope.infertility. You can find me personally on my website, www.whitneyhenneman.com. And then also my book, The Barren Cry, is available for purchase on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble. So if that's something that you would like to check out, I know the ebook on Amazon's like $3.99. It's something super cheap. I mean, my goal for that was never to make money. It's, it was always just to help others. So it shouldn't be that like, cost heavy, but yeah, I'd love for you to connect with me.
Yes, definitely. And we'll put all that in the show notes so everybody can know where to find you, where to get your book, all of it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah. I was going to follow up with your final takeaways. Sorry. I'm kind of like beating you to the punch.
Final thoughts.
I know. Truly, if there was anything that I could say to someone struggling with infertility or miscarriage right now, or truly like anything I would want to say to myself while I was just in the midst of hardship, is I would want to say, this season will not last forever. It feels like it will. And I know with infertility, it's hard because there's not really this light at the end of the tunnel. But truly, whether or not you do have a child, the season of suffering will get better. And things will fade and life will move on and it will get better. And I just want to encourage each and every one of you out there that are listening, that very thing.
I love that. I love it. Thank you so much, Whitney. It's been so fun getting to know you, a neighbor in the South. So,
I know. I'll have to come say hi next time I'm up in Nashville.
For sure. That'd be so amazing. Oh, I love it. Awesome. Well, thanks again. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time on the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L E Podcast. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. Make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.